So hiya Tony. Tony's on Google Plus, and he said one interview question I've had in the past, and he's put distant past, is where do you see yourself in 5 years' time? How do you answer this without sounding over ambitious or under ambitious? It's a difficult one. I think as well this can go down to sort of, I suppose it depends on how you are interacting with the individual and using your own level of emotional intelligence on this one and what the vibe is like with the interviewer. But what advice would you have to somebody, Michelle, that is being asked that question?
I'd get them to reply in the way that it ties into the vision or the values of the department or the institution, and you can find that out by doing your research in advance and looking at the website, because there'll be something they'll say there about the values of the organisation. So have something with your career plan that ties in with that. Make sure it doesn't sound like you won't be in that institution in 5 years' time. If your plan is, I want to be in a lecturer role for 2 years, then after that I want to go off to another institution, I wouldn't probably employ that person then, because it's very costly recruiting. But why not be visionary? Why not make it sound big and bold and brash and ambitious? But that's probably to do with my personality and what I'm looking for when I'm on a panel.
Yeah, and this is what I love asking you guys, is because when people ask me, how should I answer this question, how should I answer that question, it's very difficult, because what you job seekers out there need to remember, and anybody that's ever going for an interview needs to remember, that employers and recruiters are people. They're not robots. There is no set right or wrong. They're somebody's next door neighbour, mum, dad, brother, sister. They've all got their own personalities, and what one person would absolutely love would probably, might get somebody else's backup. So it's all about, I would advise, how would you want somebody to answer it? If you were the interviewer, if you were the recruiter, what would you want to hear? And sometimes going off on our own judgment is all we can do. Paul, what would you say to somebody how would you like somebody to answer? Where would you, when you ask them, where do you want to be in 5 years?
Well, Tony said, actually it's quite a common question about what's your plans. As I said, as I come back to the point I made earlier, when you talk about your presentation, don't talk about what you've just done, but also talk about your future plans and how you fit into the group that you're applying for. So again, I think as it's just been said, do the homework and actually look at other people in the group and see what their own careers have been like. In 5 years, assuming, for example, you're applying for a lectureship, if that's the kind of position, then actually after 5 years, I was almost a senior lecturer. I had quite a quick career progression that way. So again, be ambitious, but don't be pompous. Don't obviously say, in 5 years I'm going to be a professor or something like that. Be realistic, but actually, so don't come across completely over or unrealistic. But 5 years is a long time, and you could actually say, well, I hope to have brought in research grant income from various research schemes. I hope to have publications. I hope to be returned in the next ref, because that's also very important. We haven't really picked up on this very much in terms of research posts. But if you don't know much about ref and you're going for a lectureship, then make sure you do, because refs are very important to universities. And the next ref will be in 2020. So anybody being employed now in a lectureship post, or indeed any academic research post, will be expected to be returned in ref with some good publication. So your vision ought to fit in with that as well. So in 5 years' time, I want to be returned in ref. That means I want some top-ranked publications in top journals in my field. I want to have brought in some research income of some sort, or at least be active in applying for research income. I want to perhaps lead new modules in my teaching, that kind of thing. But keep it realistic. But I think, as it was, as Michelle said, be positive, be super positive. And make sure you convince the panel you're actually going to be there, still in the same department in 5 years.
I think what I liked about what you just said, and actually what Michelle said, is it's all about value. So a lot of people, I think, that whenever you're delivering this message, the answer to this question, however it is that you deliver it, remember it's all about adding value. So it's not about you, because they weren't, as horrible as this sounds, an employer isn't put on the earth to give you opportunities. They're there to add value to the organisation. So they're very much, what about us? What are you bringing to us? Obviously, when you're friends and you're working together, then it's a very different. But right now, we're not friends. Right now, this is an interview, and it's all about what you can bring to the role and the organisation. So sometimes it's just a case of just switching something from, I want to get experience in, to I want to add value by doing. So it's just that tiny little switch. So you're making it about them, not just about you. And I am, from a psychological point of view, when you're selling something to somebody, i.e. yourself in an interview, that can actually go down really well.